In the shadowed underbelly of the city, where the neon lights flickered like dying stars, Tony Marino was convinced he was on the cusp of greatness. A feared mobster for years, Tony believed that tonight was the night he would finally be initiated into the inner circle, becoming a made man in the ruthless Marino crime family. The invitation had come discreetly, a cryptic message delivered to Tony at his favorite Italian restaurant. The note simply read, "Tonight, under the full moon, your dreams will come true." Tony took it as a sign, believing his loyalty and cunning had earned him this moment. As the moon ascended to its zenith, Tony arrived at a clandestine meeting spot in the heart of the city. The night air was thick with tension as he stepped into a dimly lit room. The walls were adorned with eerie symbols, and the flickering candles cast long, dancing shadows. There, surrounded by a group of ominous figures, stood Don Vittorio, the enigmatic head of the underworld. Tony's heart raced, and he couldn't help but feel a shiver down his spine. He hadn't expected the initiation ceremony to take place in such eerie surroundings. His unease deepened when he noticed the uncanny stillness in the room. No one spoke, and the only sound was the soft rustle of fabric as Don Vittorio approached him.
Tony Marino!
Don Vittorio's voice was as smooth as silk, sending chills through Tony's body.
You believe you're here to become a made man, do you not?
Tony nodded vigorously, beads of sweat forming on his forehead.
Yes, Don Vittorio, I've served the family faithfully. I'm ready.
Don Vittorio smiled, his eyes gleaming with a strange intensity.
Tonight, my dear Tony, you will indeed become something special.
As the room plunged into darkness, Tony's heart pounded like a drum, and he strained to see in the pitch-black room. Then he heard it, a faint, eerie hissing sound like a serpent in the night. Suddenly, the room was illuminated by a burst of red light. Tony's eyes widened in shock as he realized that Don Vittorio's appearance had changed dramatically. His once human features had morphed into something monstrous. His eyes were now glowing crimson, and his elongated, razor-sharp claws glistened in the dim light. Before Tony could react, the other figures in the room also revealed their true nature, transforming into vampires with glowing red eyes and deadly claws. They closed in on Tony, their hunger palpable. In a swift, coordinated motion, they overpowered him. Tony struggled, but his strength waned as he felt his life force draining away. It was then that Tony understood the nightmare that had befallen him. Don Vittorio and his associates were not mobsters of the human variety. They were vampires preying on the unsuspecting members of the criminal underworld. His initiation had turned into a macabre ritual, and Tony's life was spiraling into an abyss of terror. As the last vestiges of life left him, Tony could only watch in helpless terror as Don Vittorio leaned in and sank his fangs into Tony's neck. The room was filled with Tony's agonized screams, which eventually faded to a haunting silence. Under the full moon, Tony Marino's dreams did come true, but not in the way he had imagined. He had indeed become something special that night, a victim of his masters. His life force drained away, and Tony breathed his last, a life of crime and darkness ending in the most horrific way imaginable.